Hello and welcome to Chapter 4. This is about the family life cycle. I'm going to introduce this chapter, give you a couple ideas, and then talk a little bit about the activities that you need to complete for this chapter. As you can see behind me, I am standing in front of a World War II combat tank in Luxembourg. Let me give you some numbers, and then I'll tie everything in here in just a moment. The U.S. lost 416,000 individuals. 5.5 to 8.8 million Germans were killed during World War II. 220,000 casualties from France. 3 to 20 million casualties from China. In the U.S., there were 850,000 U.S. wounded soldiers who left World War II and came back home and re-entered the population. So in total, though, from World War II, we had about 15 million battle deaths, 25 million wounded, and about 45 million civilian deaths. As you can imagine, when individuals returned home, they were facing a life that was very different than that which they had left home, from which they had left home. When we talk about the experiences that shape our lives, throughout our lives, one could imagine that experiencing a disability would be a life-changing event. And how families deal with these life-changing events is the topic of our discussion here today. So our chapter talks about the family life cycle theory, which seeks to explain how families change over time. The theory is that how individuals experience change and go through the life cycle is very predictable. A person with a disability may progress earlier or later than typically expected. The theory, though, gives us a starting point to work from when implementing or creating ideas that have to do with building partnerships and collaborations, especially as we design transitions for families to move from school to school and from life-changing place to life-changing place. The transitions as part of the life cycle are very important because these transitions bring about a great amount of stress on our families of individuals with disabilities. The idea that the stress through these transitions can occur for families that experience a disability from birth is one event, and as I open up our discussion here about World War II, there are certain life-changing events that happen where the disability is onset, perhaps even later in life. So to give you these numbers, that 336,000 infants and toddlers are served in early intervention programs. The Part C programs are the early intervention programs with family-centered services, and we know the individual family service plan as providing and documenting those services. Part B programs are the early childhood programs, and they're more school-focused. What we need to understand is that transition, again, is very difficult and can be very difficult for many families from Part C to Part B, simply because the families do not know what it is that they're going through. Now, this slide relates a lot of important points that talk about the supports and relationship building that you as the special educator or family partner can build upon. If we boil this down into these points, and if you take away these points, I'll be very happy. So understand that the supports you need to create are about collaboration and planning, talking with the parents to help prepare them for the transition, to visit future classrooms, and parents talking with, have the children and even the parents, I would even say, visit the future classrooms for which they're going to be transitioning to. Have the parents talk with staff so that they know the faculty member that's going to be working with their children, and set up, and I think that this is the most important point, set up ways that the families will stay informed about their child and the progress that their child is making, and even what the teacher is going to be doing for them. Very important that the book makes a really good point about this, of modifying the environment to foster the self-regulated learning skills, the self-determination skills of the child, so that as they go through, I think the child develops a sense of empowerment, and even the families have a sense of empowerment that these transitions, these life-changing events, are not out of their hands, that they are in their control, at least a little bit. Life cycle 2 is the childhood, so developing a perspective on inclusion. In this case, all students attend the school that they would have attended if they had no disability. They're assigned to classes based upon the principal nature of proportions. We know that all supports are provided in the general ed classroom. This is talking about inclusion, and assigned to classes that are age and grade level appropriate. So we understand this. We should understand that the children are developing their perspective and the families are developing their perspective on inclusion. Life cycle 3 is about adolescence. So here we're focusing on preventing victimization. The prevalence of bullying and sexual abuse of children with disabilities is ridiculous. So it's very important that we inform families and children about these issues and help them determine ways in which they can deal with these issues and the people that they need to go to talk about these issues. And again, expanding on those self-determination or self-regulated learning skills that were so important in the childhood stage. The last cycle we'll talk about here is adulthood. And just a couple points. Here we're going to identify the post-secondary education programs and supports, or we're going to develop transition planning through the IEP towards the goal of finding that transition period, that 1-year transition period where individuals are out looking for jobs, and I believe that in the future, and Turnbull doesn't mention this, but I believe that the right to work legislation in Ohio will have future implications for this life cycle, because not that it'll be an expectation, but that there will be perhaps more opportunities in the private and public sector for individuals with disabilities to obtain jobs, and not just cooking and cleaning jobs. So in summary, about these important points, make no assumptions about what the future holds for the families. We know that we are all temporarily able-bodied individuals, and we should not hold many major assumptions even for ourselves, right? But hold high expectations for your futures and the futures of the families as well. That's very important. Your activity, and I want to kind of bring this back to World War II here just a bit. There were basically about 4 stages of World War II, and I'm pulling this together as an idea: the Blitzkrieg, the German attack on the UK and Russia, and then we had Pearl Harbor happen, which caused the entree of the U.S., and then of course the beaches of Normandy and pushing back Germany back to the Maginot Line. So your mission will be, first of all, to complete the Chapter 3 lead discussion. The leaders should post on Thursday, and everybody should respond to 2 posts by Saturday. I think that's a really clear way to cover a chapter that may not need more in-depth discussion. The second idea is to, and I should say that I believe the discussion we'll have in our discussion forums will be excellent. The second will be, and getting back to these stages, the life cycle stages, I'd like for you to create a life cycle chart. Do this in a Word document. Just create a smart art chart idea and edit the text, or create your own chart as you wish. Summarize your main takeaways for each of the life cycles, okay, from the early childhood through adulthood. Just summarize your main takeaways. I've kind of done that for you here as well. And then what I want you to do underneath the summary, sentence or 2 summary, is use the case studies or provide your own real-life example about transitions and life cycles that may impact you or individuals that you know, and just to provide that real-life context for us as we move forward, and help us to gain that different perspective about the life cycle and put it into words that and options that we know. So we'll try that out for this activity.